Hi folks, and welcome to a special episode of Not Another Car Vlog. This week, Brew installs the Mountune MR230 kit in his 2017 Ford Fiesta ST. This is an in-depth installation video, so grab your iPad or tablet, put it in a plastic bag, and head out to the garage. We'll take you through step by step. Be ready to pause it because we move quickly, but we think this will be an invaluable resource for anybody who wants to do the same build on their ST. We'll see you on the other side.
First thing we need to do is secure the car up on jack stands or on a lift. We'll need to disconnect the battery terminal. After that, we'll need to remove the headlights and front bumper cover. With the front bumper removed, undo the two bolts holding the cooling pack cradle to the main cooling pack. Now, undo the 3 bolts supporting the lower cooling pack cradle and carefully withdraw it. Please note that there are plastic hooks shown here that help secure the cradle and may take a little maneuvering to unhook them. With the cover removed, use a flathead screwdriver or 7mm socket to undo the jubilee clip holding the boost pipe and remove. Now, remove the other side. Note that I am leaving the pipes in place to ensure that when I replace the hoses, I replace them in the order they came off the car. Undo the 10mm intercooler mounting bolts on both sides and then unhook and remove the OE intercooler. Mountunes kit comes with new uprated silicone boost hoses that are made to replace the existing stock hoses for better longevity and style. The box included hoses, all necessary hardware, the induction kit, and tuner, which will be installed later. Before we install the new intercooler, we've tagged it with the supplied Mountune logo stencil. Once back under the car, we remove the driver's side hose and loosely fit up the new Mountune pipe and hose clamps, just snugging it into place. We then moved over to the passenger side intercooler pipe and again swapped it out for the new pipe and hardware. Next, we slid further under the car to remove the lower rear hot side pipe in between the intercooler and metal OE pipe. Reach up to the turbocharger, loosen the clamp, and remove the OE hot side charge pipe. Both silicone pipe and OE hard pipe are replaced with the new Mountune hard pipe and silicone pipe, which can then be tightened down once everything is adjusted and neatly in place. Moving on to the cold side from the engine bay, reach into the throttle body and remove the upper hose clamp, then pull out the plastic cold side piping. Although this kit retains the OE Symposer as shown, I opted to delete it, as I've heard several stories of boost leaks and wasn't too fond of the sound it made in the cabin area. Slide back under the car to reinstall the throttle body coupler and cold side bracket to the back of the transmission housing. Then reinstall the small hose with the green end until the clip snaps tight. We should now be ready to install our new Mountune intercooler. Line up the intercooler with the stock rubber locating mounts and push the end tabs up into them. Holding the intercooler in place, secure both ends with the original bolts and tighten them down. Slip the new Mountune silicone pipes over the inlet and outlet of the Mountune intercooler and push the hoses firmly until they bottom out evenly with the intercooler, then snug the new clamps down. With everything in place, double check to make sure all hardware is firmly secured, then the intercooler install is complete. The next step in the install is for the new induction system. First step is to remove the harness from the mass airflow sensor by pulling the red clip up and then wiggling the harness off. Next, undo the 4 T25 Torx bits from the corners of the intake box. Then, undo the induction box clamp with a flathead screwdriver or 7mm socket and remove the upper housing and then remove the airbox base locating rubber. Disconnect the cold air feed duct and pull out the whole bottom assembly. This may take a little finessing as the base is secured by rubber grommets underneath. Now, pull the cold air duct from the OE airbox. Next, feed the new secondary air feed hose through the hole from the OE airbox and towards the fender. Slip the supplied hose clamp over the air duct and grab the new lower airbox. Insert the hose over the bottom of the airbox and tighten the clamp down. Install the cold air duct from the OE airbox base to the Mountune airbox. Then, connect the duct to the original air feed and airbox base on the rubber mounts. Refit the rubber locator mount, but do not fully tighten yet. Insert the new panel filter as shown. Refit the original airbox lid and secure with all 4 supplied Torx-headed bolts. Reattach the MAF sensor's harness. Snugly secure the lid bolts and tighten down the intake tube. The induction kit is now complete. Now we move on to the exhaust. We started by removing the bracket that connects the downpipe to the transmission. Undo the 4 13mm nuts and simply remove it. Next step is to remove the exhaust from the downpipe. Using a 15mm socket, an extension, and universal joint, remove the nuts that connect the exhaust to the downpipe. Then, remove the crossover pipe by unbolting the 4 13mm nuts. Slide the rubber exhaust hangers off the chassis mounts in order to remove the exhaust. Before I removed the rest of the exhaust, I decided I had to see how nice the new exhaust looked. There are a few options for removing the exhaust. One option was to remove the entire passenger side suspension, and after much thought, I decided it's much easier to just cut the exhaust off. After I removed the old exhaust, I just had to hang the new muffler. From here, we move back to the engine bay to start removing the necessities to get to the downpipe. First, remove the engine cover by pulling up. Remove the rubber off of each windshield wiper to access the 15mm nuts underneath. Remove each wiper using a clockwise rotation and pulling up. Remove the 6 cowl retaining clips that hold both inner and outer cowls together. Pull the top cowl off to access the inner cowl. Underneath, there are 2 10mm fasteners holding the lower cowl into place under the headlight and 2 in between the windshield and cowl that needs to be removed. With the cowl out of the way, unhook the air inlet hose from the intake, then loosen the band clamp and remove the intake tube that goes to the airbox. Next, loosen the 8mm and 10mm bolt that holds the intake to the engine. Reach down and remove the band clamp with a 7mm socket. Then, wiggle the intake tube out. Next, loosen the 10mm bolt holding the hardline to the back passenger side of the valve cover to access the manifold heat shield. Using an 8mm socket, remove the 4 bolts holding the heat shield to the car. Unbolt the 2 8mm bolts holding the brackets for the blue wire downstream O2 sensor. Then undo the wire from their clips. Using a 10mm ratchet wrench or socket, reach up and unbolt the bottom downpipe bolt. From the top of the engine, you should be able to reach the 2 remaining bolts with a ratchet and 10mm socket. Remove the top bolt and then only loosen the 3rd bolt as shown to make it easier to install the new downpipe. With a bit of finagling, you are now able to wiggle the stock downpipe out from underneath the car. Feed the Mountune downpipe through the tunnel into place, hooking it over the bolt you left in the housing from disassembly. Remove the O2 sensors from the stock downpipe and replace them in the Mountune downpipe. The black harness is the upstream sensor and the blue harness is the downstream sensor. Because the heat shield bolts are all different lengths, I made a template to make reinstallation easier. The MR230 kit came with a few options, and I decided since that I was upping the power, I should also upgrade the weakest link in the Fiesta, which is the rear trans mount or roll resistor. Paying attention to the motor mount's orientation, I first unbolted the top 13mm bolt. Using an impact extension and hammer, I lightly tapped the corner of the trans bracket until I could remove the rear mount. Stack the washers in the order you see here, then the spacer. Flip the mount over, and this should be the correct orientation. Then anti-seize the bolts. From underneath the car, put the large mount in first, then the small mount, putting the dowel back in its original spot, then tighten everything down. Once all the hardware is tightened down, torque them to 34 foot-pounds. You can reinstall the exhaust support bracket and 4 13mm nuts and tighten. Installing the new exhaust is simple and straightforward. Salvage the old exhaust hanger rubber and then replace each one, starting with the blue hanger that goes from the downpipe to the midpipe. Then place the light brown hanger and slide the midpipe into place. Once both sides were hung, grab 2 of the supplied exhaust clamps and the new exhaust section and loosely slide them into place between the midpipe and muffler. From there, position the exhaust pipes until you feel that you have enough clearance for the exhaust to move under load without hitting the heat shield. Replace the cross brace with the 4 13mm bolts and you can now move back to the engine bay. Reinstall the intake tube, making sure to tighten the clamp to the turbo first and then the 2 retaining bolts. Reinstall the hose with green clip to the intake, then reinstall the intake tube to the airbox. Next, plug the intake connectors and secure the clips. Now you are ready to retighten the 2 7mm intake tube clamps. Replace the lower cowl section and bolts, then the top cowl and 6 clips that hold them together. Now you should be able to install the bumper, headlights, and wiper blade before moving into the cabin to install the Cobb tuner. The easiest part of this install is the Cobb tuner with the custom Mountune MR230 map. After reinstalling the battery cable, open the driver's door and locate the Fiesta's OBD2 port. Take the supplied cable and plug into the OBD2 port, then to your new Mountune tuner. The tuner will automatically turn on. Follow the instructions on the on-screen display to install your new map. Once the new tune is installed on your new Fiesta, you can take it down off your jack and jack stands and take it for a drive. Thanks for watching the installation video. In the coming weeks, we'll have videos out showing the dyno runs from before and after installation, and a real-world review after installing the kit and driving the car for a few weeks. This is Brew with Not Another Car Vlog, signing off.